Hi there. Today we are going to use the creation of a small Monopoly house to work on a number of different Rhino moves. So today we're going to look at how to design vertically instead of horizontally, different shapes, how to create different shapes, the gumball movements, how to rotate, expand, contract a shape, how to move objects, how to use something called move face to either shrink or expand an object, how to copy and paste an object, how to scale an object, so make it larger or smaller, how to align different objects, and how to use one object to cut another object using a command called Boolean difference, and just a little bit about the C-plane and what that is. So the very first thing you'll need to do is you'll need to open up a Rhino file. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create this little house here, and we are going to hollow it out as well to reduce the amount of plastic that we use. So I am going to delete this. Before I do, just a word. The sizes that I'm using here, the scale that I'm using here, is not the scale of an actual Monopoly house. So please make sure the first thing that you do are measure the different dimensions of the Monopoly house, make a record of them, and then you're going to attempt to recreate that. So I'm going to delete that, and we're on our way. Make sure you have properly named your file with your ID underscore your class. So this would be student A8 in Design Lab A, and then the name of the file afterwards, and you are on your way. Okay, so if you think of that house, there's a couple of different ways that we could do that. We could certainly um, create a box here on our build plane and uh, start by doing that, make the box, and then we could make a triangular prism for the roof, and we could lift that up and put it on, and we could group them together to stick those shapes together. But I want to teach you a little bit of a different way to design, and we're gonna now design vertically. Of course, you could do this horizontally. You could draw the end of the house here and then extrude it and flip it on side. But we're gonna do a little bit differently here. So if I choose this command here, the polyline line segments, so it is going to um, allow me to just create a shape using lines. But I don't want to use perspective. I'm actually going to design from the front. So this is now looking straight on the house. So you can see that wherever I click is now selecting a different vertex of this shape. And when I get back to that point there, now we've closed that shape. So now I have a curve that is now closed. And if I select it and go to planar surface, you would think that it should have shown a surface. But in fact, because we're in the front view, it doesn't. If we go to perspective, you can now see that. Okay, so we are going to continue to build this object. And let's now go to the extrude surface command. We again could have gone up top there, but we're gonna use it here. And again, you will have measured the length of that house, but we're just going to eyeball it for the purposes of this. I could have measured it and typed in that value, but we're now going to just do it this way. When I selected the location of this, it didn't go on the origin because I didn't select it with in perspective view. So, okay, so now we have the beginnings of this house, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about how you can move an object and change an object using the gumball command. So again, we've turned on the gumball here. If I turn it off, we don't have that command anymore. So there's a couple of different ways that we can use this. So these arrows allow us to move the shape in a number of different planes. And we can use this red one here. So you can certainly use that. Another thing that you can do with the gumball plane is you can rotate an object. So if I click on this, you can see that these red arcs show up and allow us to move and essentially like either turn or rotate the house or flip it. So if I click this red one, you can see I'm rotating around the x-axis. If I set that to 180, it flips this on its side. So if I undo that, Command Z, undo it. If I choose this rotating around the z-axis, and now I set that to 90, you can see that now it's turned on its side like that. And we could do the same rotations with the green axis here. You don't just have to set the angle, you can actually just grab those arcs and move something as well. But setting the degrees allows you to have a record of how much you actually turned it there. So, okay, and one last command with the gumball is one that we've already used, but if I grab this red box, it actually elongates it or contracts it in one plane, or we could do the same thing here. Command Z to undo it, or we could do it up here as well. But make sure you realize it's moving it in two directions. It's moving it up and moving it down as well. So later I'm going to show you something called move face that allows you just to take a single face of the design and move it in one direction. So okay, so that's using the gumball. Another thing I want to just show you quickly is how to use the move command. And there's a couple of different ways, reasons why you might use this. But let's imagine you're working on something and all of a sudden that object gets moved so that it's below the C-planes, or below the build plane. So you can see that now somehow this got moved below the C-plane. And if we want to get it back to that plane, clearly we could go Command Z and we can undo it. But if you're not able to use that command, there's something called the move command. And if you just type in move, it's going to ask the object that you want to move. We've done that. It's going to ask you for a point that will be the starting point. So we're going to move to that. And if I wanted to move this up to a specific location, and in this case back to the build plane, I could do that. You notice that it was kind of tricky there, so I missed it. Let's undo that. In that situation, what you might want to do is go to move, and we've already selected it, so it's not asking us there. Here's the point where we're moving it from, and now I could go over here and just choose the origin 0, 0, 0, and that should move that right back there. Okay, so that allows you to bring an object that has either been pulled beneath the build plane, or the same thing happens if you go up here. We could do the same thing, move, choose the point that you're going to move from, and move the origin, and you're back there. So, okay, so what I want to do now is to show you a little bit about the copy and paste function. So if I select this, I can make a copy of it. So I can type copy, and I can do it that way. It's also possible just to go Command C. So I'm typing Command C on my keyboard and then Command V to paste it. Now you'll notice it doesn't really look like anything got pasted here, but if I move the original shape away, you should be able to see that there are now, oops, so we've actually got a little spinning wheel of death, but let's see if we can get close here. Sometimes there's a couple of commands that can sort of overwhelm Rhino. It seems like copy and paste sometimes can do that. But so now we have two shapes there. So again, if you copy and paste it and it doesn't look like it's there, then you have to move one of them, the shapes, just so that they might have just been perfectly overlapping. So okay, so now we've got two shapes. Let's now go ahead and create a cylindrical chimney for this. So there's a couple of different ways that we could do that. We could select this circle command. We could draw a circle here. Then we could go to planar surface. We could fill the surface in, and then we could extrude that. It's probably a lot easier in this situation just to go to cylinder, click there, tell Rhino that you want it to be a 1 millimeter radius, but you could do a couple of different things there. And you could also set the height for the end of the cylinder, or you can just sort of eyeball it. Let's just eyeball this one like that, and now we've got a cylinder. So let's imagine that you actually wanted to just move this, so you're not happy with the size of that, and you don't want to go through the gumball where you have to move both ends of this. So there is a command called move face. So if I go move face, you're going to get that command there, and I'm going to select the face that I want to move. There's an extrusion surface there that I want to sort of stay away from. So I'm just going to select the face there, it's done. And I could now type in values for how high or how low I want it. But I want to show you here that if you choose this normal constraint here, um, you can actually grab this face and uh, set the height of it like that. So that provides you with an option of how to move just one side of an object to change its shape or to get it into a place where you want it. So I can just do that again, set it to normal, and I could move it down here and just, um, you have to move it to where you want it and click it. Okay, so that's move face. Actually, we're going to do that here because I'm not, that chimney just looks a little bit too high. So let's go move face, select it, grab the face you're going to move. Apologies, let's choose all the faces. Let's do that again. And got it, done, normal, and it allows us to move it just here, for example. Okay, so now we have this house. Let's go ahead and group this house with the chimney. And what we are going to do now is we are going to use this other house, pardon me, as a cutting tool to hollow this out. So what we need to do is make sure that this is slightly smaller. So we are going to select it. We're going to use something called the scale function. And when I choose scale function, it's going to ask for the base point here, right there. Now we can choose any number here, but I'm choosing a 3/4 shrinking of this. And so 0.75 scale. And when I go done, we've now shrunk that down. I'm going to use this shape to cut the hole in the house here. So I could, again, eyeball it, move it over here, and just try to get it there. But let's show you how to do that more precisely. And we do that using the align function. So I click align, and it asks me to select the objects that I'm going to align. I do that. I now have a couple of different options. If I choose concentric, that is as if I were looking down on it, it's going to put them, have the same center point. So I'm going to do that, choose concentric, and you can see here we get a little wireframe version of it. And when I click that, now we have these things are scaled. But in fact, I can see that this house did not get scaled downwards, or it actually, pardon me, it did get scaled downwards, but it is now up high there. So let's go back to the scaling of that, just to make sure that we have it on the right plane. So I click that. We're going to go again, scale. Let's choose the base point again. So there we go. And there's the 0.75 scale, and now we're back here. Okay, so we now go back to align, and we're going to select these objects, and we're done. And now when I choose concentric alignment, I should be able to now have that. And you can see it's on the bottom there, and you don't see it on the top. So we're good to go here. Now, I want to use that smaller house shape to hollow this house out. And the way I do that is I use a command called the Boolean difference. And it's going to ask me what I want to be subtracting from. So I want to be subtracting from the big house. So I'm done. And then it asks me what I want to subtract with. Well, I wanted to subtract with that smaller house. So I do done like that. And you can see now that it is now hollowed out there. So that's essentially what we're hoping to do there, is to get a house that now is hollowed out. Your house is going to look a little bit different because you're going to use the actual dimensions of the house, and your chimney position might be a little bit different as well. So the last thing I wanted to do is not really anything that is super pertinent to this design, but I want to show it to you anyway since we're giving you some of the basic functions. This has to do with the C-plane. And the C-plane, or the construction plane, it allows you to choose a plane upon which to work. So right now, this is the default build plane. But if I type C-plane into the command bar, I can choose a number of different planes upon which to work. And for example, if I select surface here, I can tell Rhino what surface I want to work on. And so I've now selected this surface here, which is one of the sides of the roof, as my seaplane. And you can now see that the build plane is on right there. And so, for example, if I were to drag a block over here and start working now, it would start building here using this as the build plane. Or if I wanted to get some text in here and I wanted to start labeling or applying this, you can see that if I were to click there, now it's actually going to go right on that surface. So if I did a text object, I could actually create a text on that. Okay, but we don't really want to do that. So let's go back to the original seaplane, and there's a couple of ways I could choose that. I could type in the origin. I could choose a curve if it's on the original plane. One way that you could do it is the 3-point selection. So if I go here and I'm going to determine what are the original 3 points that determine my seaplane, and we're back there. Okay, so that is everything you wanted to know about creating a Monopoly house. Obviously, the more important part are all the moves that I showed you there. Good luck with your design, and have a good day.